Yes, good evening. You're on to Hull and Back podcast on Humber Wave Radio and here on Hull and Back podcast. We're on Tiger Talk and it's good to be back for another week with the usual boys. I'm Eddie Wright.
I'm Joe Collins.
I'm Chris Sorensen.
All right.
And it's all unrehearsed, is that? Let me tell you, we didn't do anything off air to get that working properly. Good evening to you if you're listening to us on the radio tonight, and good evening if you're watching us or listening to us on the podcast. Really good to have you tuned in. Obviously, the podcast is supported by Kingfisher Chippy and the pub as well. What pub is it?
Old
Zoological. There you go. Old Zoological. I need to remember that. And if you'd like to sponsor actually Tiger Talk, then we want a sponsor as well. So if you're watching and you want your business in front of all these people that are watching tonight and all these people that are listening on the radio, then you can do that. Just get in touch with us. You can email me personally, ad@humberwave.com. That's ADEY. You'll see it on the screen. If you're watching at humberwave.com, love to hear from you. Would love you to sponsor the show and get your name out there. How is everybody tonight?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, all right. Yeah,
Not bad.
Christian's nodding his head. He's good. Joe's good. Paul's not bad.
I'm fine.
Yeah. Anyway, we've had a game on Monday, and yeah, it was nice to get a draw, I would say. I don't know what your thoughts are, Paul.
Well, I think obviously there was a better team than us. They've come here full of confidence, aren't they? In the top six, I think they haven't lost many recently. And obviously our confidence isn't that high. We haven't particularly been playing that well. So I think to get a point was a really good result. And again, it was an unfortunate first goal, wasn't it, against us? But again, I think it was before the minute had gone in, the 46th minute, it had gone in, which is happening, it's happened twice recently. Yeah. And it happened, 10 minutes at Watford. I think he is sort of trying to sort out the problem. I can't understand what the problem is. Maybe we should kick off second half. That was one of my thoughts. And it might still happen, but it might not happen. But it is a bit, uninspiring, the kick-off. And I did say to Michael, who sits with us, we'll have to watch this first 2 or 3 minutes. We might let a goal in. And lo and behold, we did. So it was very disappointing. A bad goal to give away. But I thought we battled quite well. And, one thing I'd like to say is they're all saying it's a League One team, which maybe it is, but I looked at all the players and, Pando, he'd get in most teams in the Championship, wouldn't he? Louis Coyle, Player of the Year last year in a Championship team that finished 7th. Egan's played in the Premiership and the Championship. I don't know where they get it from. They're always calling Regan Slater, but he made 2 really good chances on Monday night, and also he's passed it to Amrabat to pass it across to Kamara. So I think that they're a bit harsh with some of our players, to be honest. I know they're not playing as well as they could, but a lot I think is to do with confidence, and the confidence to me is low. But I thought they battled back well against Coventry. I know Coventry had a few more chances, but we had 2 really good chances. We could have maybe stole the game. I know they could have won it late on, but it was just one of them games. I thought, if we come away with a point, it's a positive result. And we got a point. So I was quite happy with Monday night, to be quite honest.
So everybody listening to that now can blame Paul because he was saying, we've got to watch this first couple of minutes of the second half, and that's why they scored against us. So Paul's to blame for that. Everybody can blame him. If you want to blame somebody tonight, by the way, you can get in touch with us lots of ways. You can do it on the format that you're watching us on. If you're watching YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere on there, you can comment on there. Or you can send us a WhatsApp on 01482 772 663. That's 01482 772 663. I'm not blaming you, Paul. I won't do that, but many others may do. Christian, your thoughts on Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell why Coventry are a top 6 team. I'll be totally honest. And a draw was brilliant in a way.
Would have all took that before the game, Christian.
We all would have took it. 110% we would have took it. I believe it was a little bit more of the kind of upsetting side of it again, where the football wasn't very good. Throughout, I mean, there were some individuals which, to be fair, didn't deserve any sort of kind of criticism in my eyes. I thought Regan Slater actually had a semi-decent game. Like you say, Paul, he did some good tackles. Don't get me wrong, now and then a few little mislaid touches that kind of got away from him. But for a player who's been out of form, I thought he actually had a good game. And I think Egan had a great game as well. His little kind of defensive awareness of that little chest of that ball that was played across the box to take it away from the attacker. That was vital. That was vital and a very professional defensive display from him. And what do we want to say about Panda? He's. I know Paul said, yeah, getting to most championship. I'll be honest with you, getting to most Premier League teams. And if anything, someone like Man United would definitely take him over anybody. You are having him. You're not allowed him. I'm telling you now. And I believe Panda is going to be one of the reasons why we do stay in the league, because he was absolutely
the reason. Even under Tim Balter, how many games did he keep us in?
Exactly. Even the ones that we could have conceded 7 or 8 against, he was the reason why our goal difference is where it is. Obviously, it's not the best, but I mean, -9 for the amount of poor football that we've seen this season. I mean, we could be like the guys down below us. We could be even like some of the teams above us, if I'm honest with you. Like Portsmouth, their goal difference is worse than ours. I think almost up to the 17th spot. So the game itself, it was a slow start. Substitution wise, it was a mixed feeling for me when the subs came on. I don't know about you guys. I was kind of like, why are you taking him off, and bringing him on for him at this juncture in the game? Obviously, it paid off with the assist and the goal scorer. I did feel Gelhardt should have been one of those players subbed, not because of how I don't want to see played poorly in any way. I'm not saying that. He just looked spent. He was done in. He was tired. He ran everywhere. His legs were like jelly. You could see it, especially when that ball got played through to him. And it was him by himself, and he was trying to run with the ball. He tried to keep up, and he fell over. It's just because his legs were gone at that stage. And when the subs came on, I thought, yeah, he's got to be subbed. And it didn't happen. And I queried it, I guess. I mean, look, the guy is a young lad, fit, healthy. I understand he can play these 90 minutes and the intensity of the games. However, I do feel his legs were gone probably about the 60th minute by the amount of running that he already was doing. So I was questioning the subs, but hey, they paid off. One sub that did happen near the end, which I felt that should have happened a lot earlier, was Louis Coyle for Cody. Which was nice to see Cody back on the pitch. I thought Louis Coyle, to be honest, didn't have the best game again. But I think that was more. Sorry, Joe, what was that?
It's agreed, but keep going.
Yeah. It was just a case of who he was playing against. He was just, unfortunately, I felt like he was outclassed for the whole game. That's my opinion, guys. If you want to blame me for that and select me, please get in touch, because I'm happy to take that criticism. But I felt he was outclassed most of the game. And I'm like Paul again. At half time, I turned to the wife and went, we better not concede in the first 2 minutes. We better not concede in the first 2 minutes. And lo and behold, it was just a typical Hull own goal situation. And I mean, even just conceding in the time frame, it was the way, again, another own goal in the manner we did. It's just, come on. Are we cursed? Is it nerves? What happens at half time? We can speculate everything. We can keep speculating.
So then what I want to say then, people, is that it's Paul and Christian that's to blame for that goal.
I'll take it.
Just after half time. Now, well done, Christian, for doing that as well.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, it's all right, Paul. I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. Probably another 10,000 fans were saying the same thing. So come on.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I think Louis Coyle picked up a bit of a knock, and he played on after that knock. And I think that, to take him off. He probably should have been taken off early just because of the knock that he picked up more than anything. Not saying that he had a bad game, because I don't think that he had a particularly bad game. I just think that, the knock probably didn't help him. And, he's a warrior and he always tries to play on and whatever want to come off in a game. And, so it's then down to the manager to make the decision for him, which sometimes I think Ruben's lack of, maybe not a lack of experience, but he's learning on the game at the moment and he's still a young manager. And I think, these are the things that he needs to learn, is to when to take players off. And as you say, when you looked at Geldart, he did look spent. He did look as though he'd done too much running. I've got a comment here from Cookie who says that, he'd played Geldart behind Pedro, where he could get the little pockets. He says that starting Alzate and Palmer slows the play down too much. And I agree with him what he's saying there. I think that Geldart would play miles better behind Pedro. And I've said it on a few occasions that I'd play him there because I think that's his best position. So, I think that that's the thing that Ruben's got to look at. And he's got to try and get some help from his assistants or, the club to try and make better decisions when it comes to maybe substitutions and, where to play people. I'm sure that he's learning on the job, and I'm sure that he didn't expect to maybe have the squad that he's got at the moment and to be in the position that he's in at the moment. So I think, a few things have hit him and, he's got to learn from this, and hopefully it'll make him a better manager, Joe.
Yeah. Just as to sort of why I think Louis Cole didn't have a bad game, really, because I know interrupted Christian to just sort of chuck that bit of disagreement in there. I think for me in the first half he did well. I thought he got forward well, was covering back well. Didn't had you right, and Ellis Sims caused him trouble for sure, but I thought he held his own. And yeah, I thought he did well, and that's why when the goal went in and people were piling on, Coyle's got to stop the cross. Coyle's got to stop the cross. Regan Slater's been dreadful. No, Louis Coyle, it's a freak accident there with Charlie Hughes. It's not anyone's fault. This stuff just seems to happen to us. Like, look at the other end when Casey Palmer missed in the first half and it bounced out for a corner off Latibodieri as he's facing goalwards. If that's us, that probably ends up behind Ivo Panda and in the net, because that's just the sort of luck we're having at the minute.
You don't get any luck when you're down the bottom, Joe, do you?
No, you don't. And, well, our slice of luck was probably Charlie Hughes getting on the end of that header in the 90, whatever number minute it was at Hillsborough, because it's not very often that stuff like that happens, although it was just a great bit of skill. Before we move on to chat, I would just like to draw attention to the table, which I've had up for a while in various different formats on the video version. For audio listeners, we will accompany you with enough auditory aid so you understand what we are looking at. If I just take the banner away at the bottom, that's the full table. It's crazy to think we're only 5 points off the bottom of it, but that's just the tightness of the championship. In terms of being out the relegation zone, we're 3 points clear of that. We're 2 points ahead of Derby below us with a goal difference that's one better. We're a point behind Portsmouth with a goal difference that's better. Stoke were 2 points behind with a goal difference that's slightly better. So everyone, I would say, from Oxford in 17th downwards, so that's Oxford, Stoke, Portsmouth, us, Derby, Cardiff, Luton and Plymouth are at risk. Obviously, the bottom three are because they're in it. I think Preston will be fine because they always are. I think QPR will be fine because there are just too many teams below them and too few games to play. But I'm interested to see what everyone else thinks, to hear what everyone else thinks.
Yeah, can I just, before we go on to the league, I just want to say, I've seen on your thing, Ivo Pandor, oh my God, he had such a good game at the on Monday night against Coventry, and he's had such a good season. Cookie says he's player of the season. He's definitely my player of the season. I think we've all sort of agreed that he's the player of the season this season. And I just want to mention that, I managed to interview Ivor at the Hull City Official Supporters Club Beat the Player event last year. And we've done another one since then. But we've got a great thing coming up at the Hull City Official Supporters Club, which is basically where you can join the players and the staff from the 04-05 season for a night of reminiscing the back-to-back promotions. Tickets for this are £20. And if you go on to hullcityosc.org, you can get all the information there. If you are an OSC member, then you get a 20% discount. You also get fed for that, so you get some food as well. If you've not got your ticket yet, then there are still tickets available. You'll get to see people like Peter Taylor. You'll also get to see Nick Barmby, Andy Dawson, Stuart Green. Adam Pearson's going to be there along with others. I'm sure it'll be a great night. Me and Joe have got our tickets, haven't we, Joe?
We most certainly have, Eddie.
Looking forward to that. So I just wanted to mention that while we're talking about Pandora and, obviously the link there from the Hull City Official Supporters Club, managing to get him in front of the fans so they could ask some questions of him. And he was, for being even player of the season, it was great on that night, and he didn't shy away from any questions, apart from should the manager be sacked, which, he's probably got to shy away from. But everything else he answered really well. So I just wanted to sort of mention that while we're talking about Ivor, and you've got it up there on your screen, because, he has been absolutely immense for us this season. And when you look at the league table, as we are doing in the middle at the moment, I think that, as Christian said earlier, I think the reason that we're in the position that we're in, and we can hopefully stay up, I'm not going to say will keep us up at the moment, because it's still very tight down there, as you said, Joe. I think that, we'd be in a lot worse position if we didn't have Ivor in goal, to be quite honest. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, definitely.
And just with regard to the table then, I've spoken to different former Hull City players today. I'm not going to name names because that wouldn't be fair on them. One of whom is convinced we will go down. The other is absolutely happy that we have got enough points now to keep us in the division. So where do we all stand?
I said when we played Luton, I don't think Luton will win another game this season. I know the game was absolutely dreadful, but they just don't look like a team who can win a game. I'll probably be shot down in flames because they'll probably win the last four, but I couldn't see them. They looked awful. And I think they're already down, and I think Plymouth are down. I know Plymouth had a good win, but their away form is diabolical. So they've got to pick up 2 wins at home. That would take them above us, obviously. But just, that might not help us. The last game is against Leeds. Got to hope that it's still, Sheffield. Well, Leeds are going for the title maybe that day. You don't want it all to be sorted out before that in that respect for Leeds. But the others, I don't know. I think we've done it myself. I think we should be okay. Looking at the other teams' games, they're a lot harder than our games. And I'm sure most of them would swap positions with us and have our run in rather than their own. Because I think a couple's got to play Coventry. I think a couple's got to play Sheffield. I know one's got to play Middlesbrough. As I said, Plymouth play Leeds. West Brom play a couple of them. And they're all teams pushing up there to try and get in that top 6 and obviously try and win the title. I ain't saying 45's enough, but I think one more win and I think we would be safe personally. Because I don't think the other teams... There's only 4 games left, 12 points. The most they can get is 52 and 54. I know it's miles above us, but they have to win every game to get that.
Cookie says on the chat here that...
My opinion is that we aren't safe yet.
Cookie says on the chat here that he thinks the bottom 3 will go down. He says that Cardiff have got Sheffield United, Oxford United, West Brom and Norwich. He can't see Cardiff getting more than 3 points in those last 4 games that they've got. He might be right. I don't know. But stranger things has happened. Have you got some chat on the internet, Joe?
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that I think a double back-to-back win over the Easter weekend absolutely sorts us out. Then we can go into Derby and more crucially Pompey with no pressure. And
I agree, Joe. I think 2 wins would definitely do it. It's just that I'm not sure we can get 2 wins.
What evidence is there to suggest that we can go and win 2 games back to back? Because we've had 8 chances, under Ruben Sayers to go and do it, and we've not done it once.
Two difficult games as well, aren't they? Because Swansea, they'll still be playing at this moment in time, I would think, and as we say, Preston, although they're nearly safe, they're not quite safe at the moment. So they're still going to be playing of those two teams, and it's not going to be easy for us.
It's not. And look, I say Pompey there is more crucial than Derby, because if we go into the final day, well, I'm resigned to the fact I'm going to travel home from Portsmouth having seen a defeat, because we never win on the final day. So if we can have it done before then, that would be very nice indeed. But yeah, there's no evidence under the body of work that the club have produced this season to suggest that we can go and win back-to-back games, because the only time we did it was in October with Liam Miller and Mohamed Baloumi both in the team, and with a manager who they all hated. So everything is totally different now, and we've not backed up a win with, well, even a draw regularly off the top of my head, but we've certainly not backed up one of our 8 wins under Ruben Sayers with a second one. Sunderland, beat them 1-0, then go and lose to Cardiff. Sheffield United, beat them 3-0, then go and lose to Stoke. Sheffield Wednesday, beat them 1-0, euphoric after a last-minute winner, then we go and lose limply to Watford and we don't turn up. So there's no evidence, like I say, to suggest that we can go and win back-to-back games. And they have got to go out there and do it for us to, well, believe that it can happen. Because although I'd like to see it, and they're capable of it, I don't think they will.
Let's have your say, Chris, and then we'll go to the comments.
No, I agree that all of that, to be honest with you, Joe. It's Hull themselves, it's the consistency which is lacking, missing completely throughout the full season. We've had everything that we've just spoken about.
Why is that, Chris?
I wish I had the magic answer for you, Eddie. I really wish I had the magic answer. Look,
I wish you did as well, because you'd be a rich man, wouldn't you?
Of course I would. I'd have the lottery numbers every week. But that's the thing.
I mean, new friends again, by the way.
I know.
If you're winning the lottery, I want to be your friend.
Well, that's the thing about Hull. Look, we have had a very, very crazy, difficult season, and it is a crazy, difficult season. I can't think of any other club that would go through and do what we've experienced since the end of last season, with the full rebuild, the management, the staff, loss of another manager, the ACL injuries of our main players, buying players in, and we're thinking, right, okay, things are going to look up again. Then boom, out injured again. The inconsistency of that coming through. It's been a difficult season. And this is the problem again. I don't see the consistency coming from Hull. Our one saving grace, though, is I don't see Plymouth getting anything from their last 4. Luton on Friday have Derby at 12:30. But then the other games after that definitely ain't going to get anything from any other game. So Derby's kind of their only kind of hope at getting anything, I would say. But again, Derby are on this kind of resurge. So hopefully it works in our favour. To an extent anyway. A point would be brilliant. A draw, a piece in that game would be perfect for me. Thank you very much. And Cardiff, as we stated, I don't see Cardiff getting much, if anything. But again, we've seen crazy things happen. We've seen these teams that are below us that all of a sudden are going to start pulling out results. And the concern is we're so inconsistent. I think the only thing that we have been consistent is back-to-back losses. No back-to-back wins, no back-to-back draws. And that's a concerning factor. So hopefully something does happen, especially on Friday. I would like to have a bit of a cushion. I know it's a bit of a semi-tall ask, but at the same time, we usually do good in Wales. Usually.
Usually.
And if you look at the league,
I was just going
to look at Preston. They've only won 10 games this season. It is, yeah. But they've only won 10 games this season. We've won 11. Ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, the teams below us, they've not
Yeah.
won a double. Well, two of them haven't won double-figure games. I agree with everybody who's, it can happen, but the odds of it happening, are pretty high on them three teams doing that well at the end of the season. Especially as I say, they've got a lot of tough matches there. Don't know who's got who, but they've got a lot
That's
of
a
tough
problem.
matches. And how our running is probably the easiest of the bottom 7 or 8, I think. I actually will get that many points because of the ease of it, but we should be able to get a win and a draw, and I think that would be enough. 49 points. You're asking for the bottom 2 to win 3 out. Three out of the last 4 and draw 1 because the goal difference is terrible, and you're asking the third from bottom to win probably 3 games out of the 4, second above us. I just don't see it happening. I really don't. If we can get a win and a draw out of the 4 games, I think we'll be safe. But it has been a poor season. It really has. And, we have to hope that things change in the pre-season. We get players in that we need. Obviously, these injuries come back and we get rid of the people we don't particularly want and make a fist of it next season because you don't want this happening again. Because League One would be a disaster if we go down to League One, I think. And
we'll come to League One and the talking of whether we can, win what the rebuilding is shortly. But let's have some of the comments from other people that are talking on the pod, please, Joe.
Yes, let's. I will leave the table there for our aid and for chat as well, in case any of you want to make a point regarding goal difference, points, anything. So let's go back. Lee agrees with us that Ivor Panda is player of the season. Coxey asks if it's time to give Cody Drama a go. Harry says Coyle was shocking. It's time to play Cody Drama. Josh BT says Coyle needs to be dropped, gets rinsed every time a winger takes him on. Harry adds, we have the worst fullbacks in the league and it's not even close. Well, we don't have a left back, so by default, there we are. The QPR win under Valter, we could have been 3-0 down as well had it not been for Panda talking about Ivor being player of the year again. Going back to subs and the way we set up and things like that, Harry says the worst part is that he won't change the left back, makes our attack have no balance, and that I agree with. When I saw Drama coming on the other night, I thought it would be for McLaughlin to try and push us on and get a winner, but here we are. Coxey also says he's got to stop putting Gelhardt on the wing. Palmer hasn't done much. Danny says we're missing pace and legs down the middle.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Danny says we've been unlucky these past 2 home games. That's a sentiment Ruben Sayers shared today. He said 2 own goals, 2 home games. It's, it's if you don't laugh, you'll cry, really. Enshep says Coyle did okay, but doesn't stop enough crosses. Harry says it happens all the time. Coyle with a terrible clearance causing issues. Centre-back pairing. Coxey asks if anyone else prefers to see Egan and Hughes together until the end of the season. I think Jones and Hughes are too similar. That's an interesting point. Harry says our wingers can't take players on because they play against Coyle and McLaughlin in training. Fair enough. Coxey also said it's interesting to see Joseph now out of favour with Sayers not featured for 2 games. I don't think that's necessarily out of favour, but
I think it's out of position. I want to come back on a couple of the things because when we're talking about Coyle, Cookie said that he thinks that Coyle is better defensively than Drama, and I think I agree with Cookie on that. I think that it's difficult to say whether Drama would do any better. I think that the reason McLaughlin's in at left back is to shore us up and to give us a bit more height. And I think if you put Drama in there, then you're then susceptible to conceding a goal. And I think once you got the game back to 1-1, you definitely don't want to concede a goal at that point because, you could see they was happy with the draw at the end was Hull City. And, as we all alluded to, I think we was all happy with the draw. And I'd have definitely took a draw before the game. If you'd have said to me, don't play it, what can we have? I'll say draw. Quite fine for me. Thank you very much. I think that, there's some of the things.
The game, I'd be buzzing with a 0-0. And then at half time, I said that half was appalling in terms of standard, in terms of how we played. But I would snap your arm off for another half like that, and we got a point regardless.
Yeah, no,
I don't think João Pedro's come back buzzing as he was before he had this suspension.
No,
He just doesn't seem to be the player he was. I don't know why, whether they ask him to play a slightly different role, but he just doesn't seem to be getting involved as much as he was prior to this suspension. It
No,
can't be
I
fitness
agree.
'cause, it can't be fitness because he'll have been training plenty. So I don't know whether they're just saying to him, stick down the middle, not get involved in too much else. I don't know what it is. I mean, I love the player, but I just don't think he's been the player since he's come back that he was before he was suspended.
You saw him at the press conference today, Joe. What did he have to say?
Via an interpreter, Zhao said that it was tough not being able to play for, I think he said he counted it as 25 days with the international break as well. But I think Chris has it right in chat here that nobody supports him. We don't get him in games enough. And
yeah, you're probably right.
He admitted himself that he's not perhaps scored as well, how do I phrase it? He said he's enjoyed this season, but he knows he's not scored as many goals as he has done in previous seasons at previous clubs. He also said that there's been no discussions about extending his contract as of yet, and that's something that he said that he's happy to wait on that because he knows that there's a more common goal to stay up in the division first, and he understands that. And then
club probably can't afford his wages if we went down to League One, and that's going to be half the problem because he won't be on now, will he?
Yeah, he says he's more than happy to wait to have that discussion until survival's confirmed, and he says he's convinced that we will have, and I quote here, a pleasant outcome.
That's good. I've got Andrew Scott on the WhatsApp on 01482 772 663. He agrees that Alzati slows the game down, but he also takes the sting out of the game. And he says that when you watch Palmer, he wants the ball early, but he never gets it. So he disagrees that he slows the game down. And he said that we seem to play our best football when Geldart is in the middle. Yeah. But we've probably moved him to accommodate Palmer, and he's probably right with that.
Yeah. Final thing I was going to mention was from chat. Scott McLaughlin asked about Louis Barry. Ruben Sayer spoke about that today in the press conference that I was sat in, and he said that he had a conversation with Aston Villa and with Louis fairly recently. So I'd imagine that's the last couple of days. And just before he comes back, he has to pass a certain amount of tests, and they expect him to have passed those tests this time next week, but in time to play Derby. So he could potentially be back for the last two, but before then, it's not going to happen. So you're not going
to, with the best will in the world, you're not going to bring him back for the last two games, and you're not going to play him in the last two games of the season.
You'd be surprised. I think the way Ruben was saying, I think he very much plans to have Louis Barry involved if he's fit. He just says, he made the point, he stressed that Louis Barry would have to come in, train well, and prove that he deserves a place in the team because there's somewhere up for grabs. He did also say that Nordin Amrabat is capable of playing 90 minutes.
And that's sometimes you think, there's a little bit of an experience there and maybe needs a little bit of a learning curve, but that's maybe just the old-headed me speaking. I'm maybe wrong, and you might disagree. If you do, then please get in contact with us and let us know. Obviously, a busy bank holiday weekend where we've got a couple of games coming up. We've got one on Friday, which is Good Friday. It's a 3:00 kickoff away at Swansea City in South Wales. It's the thing with this one is that with us having only a couple of days break between the Swansea game and the Preston game, it's a lot of travelling for the players. And I know they'll probably fly, it'll be that sort of thing. But the thing with it is that, it's still a lot of travel time away from the family, and things like that. And the things that we don't think about as fans. And that's obviously always the concern, I suppose, when you're travelling to South Wales and then you've got to travel back again and you've got a game on the Monday, 3:00 kickoff at the MKM Stadium. It's not easy, is it?
Yeah, but I think they'll be reasonably, used to these sort of things happening You've got to sort of put that aside, don't you? You don't want to come out if you get 2 defeats and say, "Oh, it's the travelling that's cost us that." Other teams have to do it, don't they? And I mean, these teams like Portsmouth, people have to travel there, don't it? It's a long way. The Premiership, there's Bournemouth and the likes. I think it can affect them, but it shouldn't affect them. They shouldn't. That's not an excuse if we come away with 2 defeats. I don't think. I think we've got to be up for these games and get as much out of them as we can. I think the 2 games what we could get a few points out of if we defend well, don't let silly goals in. We need probably a goal in most of the games. Neither of them are big scorers. Preston have scored 43, Swansea have scored 45, but they don't let a lot in. They both let 51 in. So it's a quite a it's quite a sort of teams that around about our sort of standard in that respect. Even though they've probably drawn a few less. Drawn less. They've either won or lost. Well, Swansea definitely have 15 and 18 defeats, only 9 draws. So I think we could get some out of these matches, and I think travelling it'd be a poor excuse if that's what they say. I think it's the end of the season, isn't it? You should be just putting your all in for the last 4 games, getting out of trouble, and then seeing what happens. They're on holiday then, aren't they? For a few
The thing that's maybe frustrated me this season is that there's times that we've not been like you've just not seen us be as committed, and our want and desire to get that second ball for me has not been enough from some of the players, and I think that that's one of the biggest letdowns of the season is that all you want to see as a fan is that desire and the want to get to the second ball. We've all seen teams that have got no quality and that are struggling, but then you see the effort that they put in, and that effort makes up for the lack of quality. And I think if I'm to say anything on this season, that's probably the thing that's frustrated me more than anything.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, you bang on, Eddie. You bang on. I think it's also more of that confident style of play. If we look at last season, when we got the ball, we all seemed confident bringing up the pitch. There wasn't any kind of thinking; it was just doing. Whilst this season, Harry put it in comments saying that we're just trying to be hard to beat. I agree with that. I think we are just trying to be hard to beat, and when you're playing in that kind of mindset, your mindset literally is
how we need to survive, aren't we?
But your brain's thinking differently. Your head's thinking differently. Your head's like, where should I be? What should I do? And where's that person? Right? Who's picking that? You're not naturally free-flowing playing. And it's been evident to see this is frustrations of that.
I listened to the interview from TalkSport with Tan Kesler that he's done yesterday, I think it was, and it was interesting to listen to what he said about the style of play that we wanted to be playing and the style of play that we've ended up playing. It's there's a massive gulf between the two styles that wants to be played, and they went back to even the sacking of Grant McCann at the time and bringing Shota Arveladze in, and all those things. And it's
didn't have a style of play though, did he? He just didn't have a clue.
No, but these are the things, Joe, aren't they? When you look at it, he's made 4 appointments, really. Well, he's made 3 appointments while he's been in charge of the club. He's done Shota, he's done Liam, he's done 4, hasn't he? He's done the German that we won't talk about, and now he's done Sayers. And out of those 4 appointments, he's only got 2. That are okay, and then the 2 where he's gone sort of mid, he's gone sort of mid conservative with the 2 that he's appointed that are right. In the case that I suppose Tan did say that they took a little bit of a risk with Liam, but it was a conservative risk, I think, that they took with Liam,
wasn't it? Because he knew he'd impressed them in the interview. He had a clear identity and style of play. He'd done all the coaching. He'd been at the club before. He knew the area inside out. So they knew he'd immediately get the fans on side.
And they also knew that how good a job he'd done with Derby County, because let's face it, we all know it wasn't Wayne Rooney that did a good job with them, don't we? We all know that. So we know what good a job he's done with Derby County as well. So I think it was, although they said it was a little bit of a risk, I don't think it was a massive risk. And I think when you've seen what Sayers has done with Reading, he's done a good job there. And again, it's a less of a risk. But then the two outfield managers that they've signed in Shota Arveladze and in the German, that just goes to show their lack of knowledge of this, of the Championship football, doesn't it?
Well, surely by Adjun's high standards, in terms of wanting exciting football, a relegation battle isn't exciting at all. Ruben's not got us out of it. We're not 7th, so he's gone at the end of the season.
You're saying gesture, but
you wouldn't be surprised, would you?
It wouldn't surprise anybody. It wouldn't shock me at all.
If many teams actually go out and try and play attractive football anymore, do they?
No,
there might be the odd one or two, but if you look at West Brom, who are 7th, they've won 14 games, 18 draws, 10 defeats, 51 goals, and they're 7th. So how many teams actually trying to play this? I mean, he wants attractive football, but it doesn't seem to be a thing that people play anymore. It's about not losing as much as you can and pinching an odd win here and there. It's not, they aren't bothered, I don't think, about entertaining the fans anymore. I really don't think they are. And I think it's not just our club. I think a lot of clubs, they're quite happy if they stay in the Championship, to get the plenty of money, get a few supporters in, and just carry on. I don't think entertaining is on a lot of people's agendas nowadays as managers, definitely.
I think it's on the fans' minds, though, Christian.
Burnley, 57 goals for in 42, and they're 2nd in the league. And I think most people have said how boring they are to watch. And I think it's just a sort of general thing nowadays with football. They don't want to be entertaining; they want results, and that's it. And I think, obviously he wanted a entertaining football and results, but I don't think you're going to get any manager playing that way. Really don't. As you just said, Ruben Sayers, is he going to get the sack at the end of the season? Because if we go down, will he get the sack? I don't know.
But it's hard to say this.
And he gets the sack, then Adjun loses. Well, to be honest, I think if we go down, Adjun loses interest and tries to sell it. But if he sacks Ruben, if we go down, it's
or even if we stay up, he sacks him.
He loses all remaining support apart from the few sort of Adjun cult people. Just diving into chat, why is nothing getting said about Zambrano? Seems very strange how no one's saying anything. Well, what you can deduce from the fact no one said anything in the exactly a month since the appeal is that
it was unsuccessful.
No, it's that he's definitely not had the ban overturned.
Yeah.
It's up to the Court of Arbitration for Sport to release the verdict. And so the only people who will know that verdict at the minute are likely Oscar and his people. They might have informed the higher ups at clubs, but Ruben says he doesn't know. And well, we can only trust him on that. Ruben's got other things to focus on. He's not met Oscar Zambrano yet. And all he's got, Oscar Zambrano is not immediately part of Ruben Sayers' plans at this football club. He can't help us stay in this division this season in the remaining 4 games. So, therefore, Ruben Sayers shouldn't have to worry about him. And that should be dealt with in the off-season. And we will get a statement, whenever that will be, about whether it's been reduced, lengthened, overturned completely. Well, it's not been overturned completely, has it? Because otherwise he'd be playing now. But even if it were to be overturned tomorrow and we were to get that confirmation tomorrow, Oscar Zambrano would not be fit enough to impact this season in the 4 games we've got left. He's not played a match minute since November. So I think we just need to sort of leave the Oscar Zambrano debate until the summer, because there's nothing he can do to impact the season now.
Cookies sent me loads of messages on the WhatsApp. He must like typing. I'm not reading all of these out, Cookie, but your fingers must be very sore after typing all this. And he says that here's the one that I'm going to say. He thinks that Sayers can do a Liam next season if we can get three or four more players in. Strikers and fullbacks, given the chance, is what he'd like to see. And it's probably what we'd all like to see in the closed season. Any more from you, Judge, from chat?
From the chat, Chris says, no chance he's sacking Ruben. Stop talking about it. You're right there, Chris, I think. Steve Adjun will go if we go to League One.
I agree.
Lee's making the trip on Friday night. Just on Louis Barry, says Steve. His loan is up after Pompey, so I think he will play him. Why have him here otherwise? That's a good point. But I also think if we're still in the Championship next year, Louis Barry comes back because the injury will have meant there won't be as many clubs sniffing around him interested because he's not proved himself at this level yet. And when he first came in for us, he was coming back off an injury and was only just sort of getting settled in and getting into his stride before he had the injury. So I expect him to come back in for one or two of the remaining games and get back with the group again, get training properly, get playing football, and then expect to see Louis Barry. I would expect anyway to see Louis Barry back here, back in Cottingham, doing more announcement photos in the very early days of pre-season, because I think we will move very quickly to get him back through the door, even though we'll have Miller and Bellumi back fit as well.
It's going to be a tough one, and it's always difficult to predict what is going to happen. You may be right in what he's going to do. Me being a wise head, I would definitely not be playing him. I may give him a 10-minute John on a couple of those games if we're safe. If we're not, then no, there's not a chance. So that's my thoughts on it. But, we'll all have different opinions, and that's what it's all about. And thanks for everybody that's got in touch with the show tonight. It's really good of you. Cookie says that he's just trying to interact. And I know that, Cookie. I'm only having a bit of fun with you. It's, I've just seen all of you typing. I'm thinking it took me about 3 hours to type that on a WhatsApp message to somebody. So you've done really
double
well.
That with me.
It'd be treble that with you.
Oh, right, thanks.
You look at when you're looking at somebody typing and it's taking like 3 minutes and then it says hiya.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh dear. Anyway, good to have you all watching as well. It's really good that you've all been watching, and I hope you're enjoying the show. We only do it because you're getting involved and you're joining us on this journey that we're on, and trying to all be supportive of Hull City and all wanting the same thing of Hull City to remain in the Championship next season. And as a lot of you have been saying, hopefully push on from this bad season to have a good season next season. So that's what we're all after. And I've got my fingers and my toes crossed. My toes are hurting, so I'm going to have to uncross them in a minute. But I have got them crossed just to hope that we stay in the Championship for the new season.
We've got, I think it's 6 more wins and we'd have been in the Championship playoff places, wouldn't we? That's as it is. That's how far we're off.
Six wins. 6 wins is a lot of wins. I mean, heck.
Isn't it in the season? 6 more wins than we've got. It's not a lot.
Well, if we go back to back on the ones we've done under Ruben Sayers, then there we are. But
so
I'm
it's
sure
been a disastrous season.
I'm sure Lee will tell me, but how many people have we got going to Swans? How many fans have we got going to Swansea on Good Friday?
Shall I see if I can have a quick...
Yeah, I mean, Lee'll jump on in a second and he'll tell us all because he'll know exactly how many's going, how many coaches and what coach numbers they're on. So we'll be sorted with that. We don't need to do any research on that. But yeah, we do need to take a few fans down to Swansea to help us, try and bring back. I think a point would be a good result away at Swansea, if I'm honest. I think, I know you say we're good in South Wales, but, I'd be happy. Listen, I'd be happy if we could get what Paul said earlier. I think if we could get four draws and get on to, 49 points, I think that would see us safe this season, if I'm honest. So I think four draws would do it.
No, I'd take the 4 points, but
What
I'd only take the 4 points in the next 2 games.
What sort of team did you say, Paul?
Yeah, I wondered,
Cookie agrees, by the way, he'd take a draw on Friday. It's difficult, isn't it? I think I'd change a couple of things, if I'm honest with you. I think I'd start Kamara, because as much as Kamara's frustrated me at times, I think when you look at his contributions and his goals and things like that, he has contributed probably more than any other player that we've had in that position.
Most goal contributions this season.
So, I think I'd definitely start with Kamara. I'm with what a lot of people have said already. I would definitely start with Joffrey in the middle, playing behind Pedro. And then it's who you play on. Lee said about 300 for people listening on the radio. I think it's 300. Only 2 coaches are traveling on Friday. It is Good Friday, by the way, so there'll be a lot of people that are going away for the weekend. But I think I'd definitely start with Kamara. I'd put Joffrey in the middle behind Pedro. I'm not sure I'd play on the left, to be quite honest with you. I've thought, a lot of people have said
Amrabat.
I mean, listen, he's got that thing. He's got a little. You've got a little bit. Well, I've got a little bit of love for him, if I'm honest.
I think he was fantastic when he came.
When you can trip over your own feet and try and go in for a diving header at the goalkeeper's feet, it's amazing, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing to watch.
5 minutes and ran around like a headless chicken.
He did.
Love it. I love absolutely.
And these are the things that we've been saying I've been saying on the pod, is that one thing that you're going to get out of him, I'm not sure how much quality is there, I'm not sure how much fitness is there, but I'm telling you now, you're going to get the effort, and he's going to try and close everybody down on that pitch. And as fans, that is all anybody wants to see. All you want to see from a fan's point of view is your player coming on and giving it a load for the club. And I think that he's what, he uses that. He really does ooze that in all ways. So, I don't think he can play a full game. I think that for the last 30 minutes of the game, he's absolutely brilliant. And I wouldn't be averse to him coming on Friday.
Would you bring him on at half-time?
I would, I have not wrong with that. He could do 45 minutes.
I think that's
central defence, so we don't concede.
Yeah, seriously though, like Hull after half time, I've had. Well, we all know we've been utterly awful for the first 5 minutes at the second half of the kickoff. So why don't we do something that just completely mixes it up for the opposition, and that might cause a bit of a stir? I mean, bringing on Amrabat. Say we start with Lincoln on the left, and you bring on Amrabat at half time. I mean, I feel sorry for that fullback, because I wouldn't have a clue what type of player I'm coming up against. I wouldn't. I'd feel absolutely. I'd be so scared. I mean, like, what's this big guy with me all of a sudden?
It's probably one of them things, isn't it, where if Ruben's learning and we're being a little bit critical of him, then one of the things that I think that he's not done enough of is he's not changed it at halftime enough, because there's a lot of games that we've had a really poor first half this season, and you think it's crying out for a sub to come on at halftime, and he's not changed it enough. And as you say, just something, a little bit of a shock tactic like that could actually work in our favour. We might not concede a goal just after the whistle's blown for the second half.
Exactly.
You think Graham will come on for Louis Coyle then? You think he'll start him?
I think that if he picks him, not possibly.
Based on what Ruben said today, Louis had a bit of hamstring fatigue, and he'll only train fully tomorrow. And he was making some very positive noises about Cody Drama, in that he was praising him, saying he deserved to be back in the squad, he deserved to have a couple of minutes. Only thing that slightly wards me off is the fact he's not started a game for a while. And once you get in that cycle at this stage of the season, I can understand why Ruben wouldn't do it. With regards to John Egan, he's fine as well. But I think Drama will come in. I think Drama and Jones will come in on that right side.
Yeah, I mean, I'd start Jones again. I don't think Jones has done much wrong to be out the team, but there'll be people that disagree with me, I know.
I don't think it should be dropped, just to be clear, but I just think Ruben's in this where he's giving one a game, then another a game at the minute, so I think he'll keep doing that.
I think with
What about the
Jones,
midfield,
the
then?
argument, with Jones, I think the
Okay.
argument's been is kind of how he holds up the ball a bit too much and doesn't play that kind of through ball or forward ball that I guess the fans and everybody else sees. And he kind of just holds his hands up sometimes and goes, well, what am I going to do? Because I only know how to pass the side to side or the long kind of switch ball. And
Yeah, that's
think
one of
with
his
Egan-
biggest faults. You're right, Chris. He isn't good on the ball, is he?
yeah, and with Egan, you can just see the age experience there. I mean, I've always classed like Jones as a Rolls Royce centre back because he has been. He's a bit of a Rolls Royce centre back, but Egan just feels you can see the experience when he's playing, and I do prefer it. I have to admit at this moment in time, but I'm saying at this moment in time because of the predicament and position we're in the league. Would I rather have someone with that experience to just kind of settle things down at the back over and having someone like Cody next to him who has a bit of the legs and will kind of take him on? Because I thought that last few minutes from Cody, even his tackling and holding him up, it was tighter to the opposition. He didn't give him the space to work. He didn't give him the space to cross properly. And I thought it was very positive what we saw from him, his little cameo when he came on. But
let's hope we can see that positivity again for the Swansea game. Quickly, Cookie says Kamara for Palmer and Puerta for Slater is what he would do. We've got 30 seconds left on the radio. It's been another good episode. It's been good of you to tune in, listen, watch, whatever you've done. Keep tuning in every week. We'll be back next Wednesday from 7 o'clock here on Humber Wave Radio and to Hold Them Back podcast. But, you know, we've gone for another week. We're going to have a drink of tea. We're going to calm our voices down and we're going to hope for 2 City wins before our next podcast. And on that note, I've been Eddie Wright.
I've been Joe Collins.
I've been Chris Sorensen.
And I've been Paul Wright.
And you've been listening to Tiger Talk. We'll see you again next week.